There was no weakness in my penguin pecker.
No, there wasn't.
Designed.
There wasn't. There was no weakness.
Which we never filmed.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was there, man. It was there. I was fully anatomically correct.
Colin, I want to know, how does Oz feel about the nickname, the Penguin?
Oh, not a fan. Yeah. Not a fan. I mean, it's never been used in any way but a derogatory way. You know, anyone that uses it, whether it's Michael Kelly's Johnny Vitti or whoever it may be in the show, they're using it to put him down. And he's somebody he's been put down a lot in his life, and he's been kind of pushed outside of the communal experience, and he's been made feel like a quote unquote cripple. He's been called a cripple. He's been laughed at. So it's something that he doesn't truck with at all.
Matt, please let swearing and F-bombs be part of your script for Batman Part 2. It's necessary. Colin turns them into poetry, please.
You know, isn't that what's so exciting on the show, to really be able to be unleashed? I will say, we had Happy Fucking Halloween from Alex Ferns, which is
that was a very well delivered line too. He
did it great, yeah.
That line.
And so,
F-bomb. Yeah.
You know, we're as unleashed as we can be in the movies in PG-13, but it is really exciting to be able to hear Oz's voice in full flower. I mean, he gets very poetic with his use of profanity, which is a delight.
Also fun for us to be able to really focus in the movie exploration with Rob's character, the Batman, to be in a certain tonal lane, but then to also then shift gears and go into, you know, our first series with the Penguin of, you know, obviously a very well-known marquee character played by the great Colin Farrell, and go into a different lane. And that's creatively really exciting. And I think it's fun for the fans too.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Sophia, I thought you was still at
Arkham? No. I've been rehabilitated. I spent a year with Oz.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really see Colin out of makeup. I think I've seen Colin out of makeup 3 times.
Okay.
And it was all in like pre-production. It's very strange when I hear his voice. It really flips me out. And certainly when I see him in his like real form, because I associate those eyes and that voice with someone who I spent a year with.
Right.
Who is not real, but feels like a person I know better. Like it's so hard to describe.
Your brain is telling you the person you know is the person who your brain sees that you're talking to. Now, deep down, I know that it's Colin, but on the surface, it's like a magic trick. On the surface level, it feels like that's what's really happening.
There would be times where, like, I wouldn't, you know, it isn't Colin Farrell. It was a different person, and it was a different. He was not that when he was in, you know, in between takes. He stayed in the voice and stayed in the physicality of it. And I would get worried about his leg, you know, because like my brain would be like, no, he's I would forget that he didn't actually have a disability.
I, you know, never saw him without it for the whole time that we were working together. And I never needed to sort of handle the nervousness that somebody might have when you're working with somebody who, a movie star who you are such a huge fan of. So I never had to think about the Colin Farrell-ness of it all.
Life is just a dream.
You promised me, Oswald.
I know, man.
I deserve a better life.
I'm working on it.
Knowing that people haven't seen it, what's the one word you would use to describe Francis's relationship with Oz?
Weaponized.
Yes.
That made you happy.
That's great. That's fantastic. Yes, and very true.
I'm at times desperate for them to heal their wounds or evolve out of, you know, some of this psychological dysfunction, but I'm entertained by it at moments. I'm horrified by it at moments. It's true.
I know, they're delightful, and it's heartbreaking, and it's wrenching. You're like, whoa, and it's demented. You're going, I mean, weaponized is a great word. It's like, and that was the thing, you know, from the beginning, what we're talking about is the idea of, if we wanted to do this gangster tale, that it's all about, you know, in a dark American dream story, when you're doing a gangster tale, it's always about what's driving the character and what's creating the void within that character that makes them be willing to go at any lengths to get what they want, to grasp at power, at money, at something, to look for recognition. And so that's why that relationship is so key, because she's the answer. Their relationship and their past is the answer to that hole, those broken places in Oz, and the broken places that they both share. It's very messed up. It's quite something.
Matt, is Oz a smart guy? Or is he just
super smart? Like Colin, I think he's super bright. I mean, he is fast on his feet. He's like jazz. He can respond in the moment, and I think he has got an exceptional intelligence. Absolutely. I mean, I think that's the thing. I think he's easily underestimated, and that was the initial sort of idea for him in the movie, was this idea that here's this character that we know becomes the Kingpin, who, when Batman first encounters him and he sort of is threatening him, Oz says back to him,
You better watch it. You know my reputation.
Yeah, I do. Do you?
and the idea is that people think he's a joke, but he's no joke, as we see in the series.
America's a hustle. Not that I'm complaining.
Mike, I need to ask you about the creation of Oz's feet. I only want to talk about Oz's feet for an hour, if we could. I think it's the first time in live action that we actually get to see the feet. Can you elaborate on the design, some of the conversations you had about them?
Well, if you think of the namesake penguin, I mean, you think immediately of a shape of a body. You think of the way they walk and the way their face is, and you know, their whole. It's part of them, you know. So you can't call a villain the Penguin without having something that inspires why. So I think in the show we figure out why, what's creating his walk, what's creating part of why they call him the Penguin.
So we were looking at references that were kind of like, oh, you know, I actually thought it was really interesting that it was like, right, like this talks about class, just in the fact that this person is a person that couldn't have gotten the surgeries that you would need for that. Like, we're having a conversation even if we're just talking about it existing in a way.
It's not a fantasy bird foot, you know, it's something that may resemble something non-human or something that is very human, you know, a weakness, you know, something that may inspire why he does certain things, or may inspire, you know, his persona and why people call him a certain thing. So it was interesting to do.
There was no weakness in my penguin pecker.
No, there wasn't.
Designed.
There wasn't. There was no weakness.
Which we never filmed.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was there, man. It was there. I was fully anatomically correct.
Listen, Sal. Carmine Falcone's dead. And I'm here now. I'll be calling the shots.